Okay. So I think today we are going to talk about the HTML forms. I think last Wednesday we talked about the HTML tables, and today our next topic is, the HTML forms. Then we look at the input types, right? So let's continue. So if they ask you, what do you think about forms? What can you talk about forms?
Um,
Yeah, like a form. Like if they tell you what is a form.
mm, it's kind of document or folder. If I'm right.
Well, I'm talking about in terms of like what do you use form for? Like just in general way, how do you think about it? Because the thing is, why do we need forms in our life? Think
Maybe
about your
we
school,
use
for
to
instance.
collect information or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So you understand that the form is very, very important in everyday life because looking at all the data that we are collecting, all of them are through these forms. You understand? So forms is very important. All the data analysts, what if they don't collect all these forms, how can they analyze the data?
Mm,
Yeah, so it's part of our life. You have to make sure you collect all this data, and then after then you can analyze the forms and know if you are doing a business and you have the data, you can analyze the data and know which product is doing better or which product are getting a lot of sales. So you can
mm,
invest in that product more or make this adjustment or changes in that product.
mm,
You understand? So,
mm,
and in HTML forms, you have the HTML forms, the attribute, the element, the types, the input types, the input attributes, and the form attributes. And these are all collectively makes a form. You understand? A form is used to collect input data. You understand? It's used to collect input data. Definitely, if you want to get an information from someone or from your sales, you need to collect the personal data of the person, like maybe the person's name,
mm,
maybe first name, last name, date of birth, age, the product that he bought, he purchased, the amount that he paid, like everything, like in general way, like it depends on which kind of product and the kind of information you are taking from the person. You
mm,
understand? So that is why in web design, the forms are very important because if someone going to contact you, definitely you need the person's name and email, where he's contacting you, his contact address, phone, telephone number, mobile number. You understand this kind of stuff. So all these are under the forms. So the input data often sent to a server for processing. You understand? So when the person put his details, it first goes into the server and it processes it. And if you have a back end where you collect all your data, like database, then it will send to that database. You
mm,
understand? So you have your database. If anyone sends any information, it is already stored in your database. You
mm,
understand?
yeah,
So that is mostly why or the reason why we need forms in our daily life. You
mm,
understand?
yeah,
Hmm. As we know elements, a form element is the
mm,
first thing that we need to think about because we are telling the brothers that we want what form or we want to create a form. So
mm,
the first thing that should come into our mind is we have to get an element that can tell the browser that we need a form. If we needed a table, we would have written table. That we are telling the browser that we need table. But here we need form. So we tell the browser that we need a form. So this is an open tag, and also it has a closing tag. You understand? So it also has the way as the HTML has and the body, you understand, as we did before. So the HTML element is used to create an HTML form for user input. It gives you an option, or it gives the user an option for him to type his details. So we are collecting the user input, his name, you understand, his email address, his date of birth, this kind of stuff. And the form element is a container for different types of input elements. You understand? So this is our container. And this serves as our container, which tells the browser we want a form, right?
Yeah.
And the input element, like text field, whether we want the person to type something like a normal text, you understand, or check boxes, we want the person to tick a box, you understand, so whether we can collect that information as maybe he has agreed to, or maybe an agreement or some terms, you understand, because if you have a form and you have some agreement between someone, or maybe your business, your client, the person has to sign. You understand? So if you have all these checkbox under the test, the person will take this checkbox and you collect the data, knowing that the person has agreed to the terms. You understand? We have radio buttons. They have their differences. This, just as the name suggests, it's just checkbox. It's a box. You understand? And then this radio button is to look like a radio button, which is rounded. You understand? And we have submit button, which is like a rectangular size. So this normally look like a square. This is a round, and this is what? A rectangular shape. You understand? So list of element used in the form, we have the list of input types, which are all these. There are a lot of them, you understand? But these are mostly used in the form. So we are going to deal with the one which are mostly used in the form. You understand? So let's get started. Let's move into our Visual Studio Code, right? So if I open my new blank Visual Studio Code, where can I create a new file? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, okay. So I want you to direct me how to open, or how to create my own first folder, create my file.
You will go to the file,
Okay.
then open folder.
Okay, I should navigate to the folder. Okay. And then I will choose where, anywhere, right? Maybe where I
Yeah,
wanted.
you can choose wherever you
All
want
right.
to.
So what am I going to do here?
You will do the right, like here, if you want to continue in either of these folders, you can do it.
Okay.
But if you want to form another folder, then you can right click and
Okay.
form
Right
a new
click.
folder. Yeah.
Okay. Where can I
Go
go
to the
now?
new,
New. Okay.
then point
Well,
at folder.
I should click on the folder. Okay. What again?
You can rename it. Well,
Okay. So let's make it as form one. So that's my folder. Then what next?
then you can click on select folder, then it
Okay.
will open.
Okay, and I select the folder. Perfect. Then it has opened inside my Visual Studio Code. Okay, now I have my folder where we are going to store all our files. Okay, what is next?
Now you have to form a file.
Okay, I have to create a file by
Yeah,
clicking here, right? New file.
yeah.
Okay, what next?
Then like you need your home. So that home will be index.html.
Okay, index.html. Okay, then I'm inside my index.html page. So
Yeah.
what next?
Now you need to bring your boilerplate
Okay, we're using what?
by using control slash ah control
Come again.
control
No, just tell me the symbol. If you tell me control slash, maybe my keyboard might be different from yours.
okay.
So you need to
You
tell
need
me
an
which symbol.
exclamation mark
So an exclamation mark or
or HTML.
HTML. So I can choose this whichever I want, right?
Yeah.
Because this one is the normal HTML and the HTML5. If I choose it, it has a lot of details. So maybe let's choose it because this is the current one, HTML5, the current version. You understand? So
Mm,
if you don't want these are comments, you see all this. They are
yeah.
all comments. So we can just remove all of them. We don't want them. Understand?
Mm,
Understand? So these are all comments. We don't want this. Then we can continue. This give you the full structure. You understand? But if you type only the exclamation mark, it will give you only this without giving you this script, and
yeah.
then this link. These are the links to your CSS, and these are the link to your JavaScript. So if you are
Mm,
a new beginner and you are not learning CSS and JavaScript, you can use what the exclamation mark, which will just omit that of the link and that of the script for you.
mm. So the
And
other one, like it will give you more information.
yeah, for instance,
Okay.
this is the professional. Like if you are someone you've already known CSS and you know JavaScript, and you want to
Mm,
just have your boilerplate. The current one, the version is HTML5. You
okay.
understand? So when you click on it, it will give you the all the script because this one you need to connect it with the external JavaScript that you create, and then the link
Mm,
to you need to link it to the external CSS that you create. But because we are
okay.
just using or we are just focusing on HTML, that's why I
Mm,
told you you can just use the exclamation mark and then just start coding.
okay.
You understand? Okay.
Yeah.
So now we have started our, we brought our boilerplates, and then now we can change the title, right? Which
Yeah.
is form, form one is our first form. And then inside our body, we start writing our content, right? So maybe I can start with each one element to just show that I want or I'm doing a form. I'm creating a form, right? So I can see form one. This is it, form one. Okay. Then where should I open it? Which one should I use? Show preview or live
Show
server?
show preview.
Okay, show preview. Okay, so this is our form one content, which is the H1 element in our body, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now what next? Since I'm creating a form, what should you tell the browser?
Mm, you introduce the formula.
Okay, I introduce the form because I need a form. So I want to tell the browser that I need a form. And the form, as I told you, is FOM, right?
Yeah.
Form. And if you look at it, it will give you a suggestion. You understand? Then you can just choose it, right?
Yeah.
Normally, the form is like this, but because it's a professional editor, immediately you write, it normally comes along with each attribute that it function with. You understand? So when you write the form, it doesn't just give you only the elements, it also add an additional attribute because a
Mm.
form without the attribute is nothing. You understand? Because it
Mm.
has to perform some task, and that attribute will what will help it to do that task. It's the same thing
Mm.
as what we normally do as when you are adding an image. When you write img, it has to come with what source, right?
Yeah.
So when I click this enter, it comes with what source because the source is where I can what introduce my image. You understand?
Mm.
And the alternative is the way I can introduce the alternative name for the image in case the image is missing, right? So it's the same
Yeah.
thing. If I introduce like a form like this, it has to come with the attributes. So if I write form and choose it, it has to come with an attribute. So this is an attribute, which is what? Action. And why is it important? It's important because when we were looking at a link, we were asking like where are you going to send or where do you want the link to take us to, right?
Yeah.
Similar to this, when we are writing a form or when we are filling a form, where do you want to send the form to? You
Mm.
understand? Where do you want the
Yeah.
form to be sent to? You understand? So now it's like if I'm filling a form, like the school send me a form to fill. It means I'm filling the form to send it back to the school.
Mm.
And so that they can have my details in
So.
terms if I had what if I have maybe I should register for some courses, then I have to fill the form and send it to them. Then they will see my details to be able to put me in the list of their students. You understand? So if I'm filling a
Yeah.
form, I'm just sending to the what? To the school. So here is what the school I'm going to write. Maybe I'm going to send it to University of, maybe let's say University of, I don't know any name, but let's say University of Ankara or something like that. You understand? So the
Mm.
action is that I'm going to send it to this location. You
Mm.
understand?
Yeah.
And we did, but for now, since we are doing with only with HTML, we don't normally focus on the action because we are just creating the structure.
Mm.
You understand? We are just creating the structure. And you remember that I told you JavaScript is normally what we use to apply a function, right?
Yeah.
You understand? And CSS is what? CSS is just what? The color
The
to
color.
beautify the website. You
Yeah.
understand? And HTML is what? To just create the structure, like a normal building.
Mm.
You understand?
Yeah.
That is why. So in here, it is called action. So even if they say action, but I cannot do any action because we are focusing on the structure.
Mm.
You understand? But
Yeah.
for a beginner, there are a lot of different ways that you can use it to learn. So let's say that when we send this form, we just want it to go to the same page, the same page that we are here. We just want it to be here, the same page, not to go anywhere. I want to send the
Mm.
form in within me. For instance, if I'm
Yeah.
sitting at home, I fill a form and I want to send like I took a paper, a pen and paper, and I filled the form, and I didn't send the
Mm.
form anywhere. I just put it in within my home. You understand? So
Mm.
this is the same thing that we are doing here. But normally the form has to be sent to some place. You
Mm.
understand? That is why it's here it is saying. So now we add another what we call attribute, which is called method. Method. And what does this method do? Let's read together. This is the action, right? The action attribute. What
Yeah.
does it do? It's saying that the URI of a program that processes the form information, right? This value can be
Mm.
overridden by a form action attribute on a button or input element. You understand? So it will
Mm.
process the form information. You understand? So when we come to the method, what happened here? The method is saying that the HTTP method that the browser uses to submit the form, right? Look at
Mm.
here. The HTTP method that the user uses to submit the form. And possible values are post, get,
Get
direct.
method.
You understand? So these are the form, the action that it does. Look at the post is saying that correspond to the HTTP post method. And you continue saying form data are included in the body of the form and sent to the server. You understand?
Mm.
So we're saying that if I use the post method like here, if I write post, the information that I'm going to fill here or type the information I'm going to type, it's going to be inside the body and then it's going to be inside this body. And it will send that form or that value that I wrote to the server, to my database.
Mm.
I understand. So let's say the school that I'm sending to is my database. So it's going to send it to the school. You understand? So we have, let's say mostly we have these two types. We can send it through what post,
Mm.
right? Or we can send it through what we call get. And what does it
Mm.
talking about? Say get method is form data are appended to the action attribute. Attribute URI with a what? With a question mark as separator, and the resulting URI is sent to the server. And use this method when the form has no side effects and contain only ASCII characters. You understand? So the reason why we have these two types is this one is mostly best for sensitive data, the post one.
Mm.
But the get one is normally for normal data, the day in, day out data, that your name, because
Mm.
everybody knows your name. You understand? And normally when we send using gets, normally it will appear inside this URI here. You
Mm.
understand? Normally you can see some URI. Let me open this with live server. We can see clearly here. If I click here, I'm going to open with live server. So normally you see something like here. If you use get method, right? You see something like you write this question
The
mark.
IP address.
Yeah, you see something like they write something question mark. I'm giving you an example that you can see. They write
Oh,
name
okay.
and they say equal to. Then they ask the what is the name? The name is maybe Musa. You understand? And then
Mm.
what? And maybe if there's additional, then they say end. You understand? Then what again? So this means that your name was what? Musa. You understand? And your
Mm.
age, 25. You
So
understand?
it
So
will show like this.
it will show inside your browser. Like when you send it, for instance, now if I'm doing this, you wouldn't understand it. But when I finish the input, I
Mm.
fill the form, you see how it means. So for now, let's just see it. This is how it looks. Let's say this is the name that the person, the input field is saying that what is your name? Then you say, my name is Musa. right? And the person says that what is your age? Your age is 25. So that is how the form will look like. But when you send it using the get method, you will see the result here. You understand? So that is why this one is not what? Is not good in terms of security. Right? Because if you do that and send it, the one using it will just see the answer.
Yeah.
You understand? The person will see your name. But if you want to send, you don't want the person to see your name, you have to use what? Post method.
Post.
So if you use post method, all these things, you wouldn't see this.
Mm.
You just send it and here you will not see anything there. You understand? So
So
that is
post is
why
the professional one,
the professional
and
one is the post. You
the
understand?
get
The guest is just like you normally use it to,
normal.
you can test how the things work before you are use the post, or
Mm.
if you want to get like information from a server, you understand?
Mm.
Like if you want to get data from somewhere else, you can use get method. It means
Mm.
that I'm getting the what the information from that company. You understand?
Yeah.
Like for instance, the way we use these things, it normally look the same way, but for instance, we use image, right?
Mm.
We use image and we say source. You understand? And the source, we want to add some random place and took their image. Let's say there's an image here. I right click and I copy the image address, right? I
Yeah.
copy the image address. So this similarly look like get method. This is the image, right?
Mm.
It's similarly the way it look like I'm getting this image from the website that I went here,
Mm.
right? So this is
Yeah.
like I'm getting the image from there. You understand? Aha.
Yeah.
So that is how it looks. But you will see just the image. But in terms of how the browser and your code works, you understand? The client
Mm.
side and the server side, that is normally what you look at it. You understand?
Mm.
So for instance, what we are going to use, I'll use the get one for now, and later I'll change it to post. You understand? So
Okay.
just know that before you start the form, you have to write the form telling the brother that you want a form, right? And then
Mm.
you make sure you have an action where the form is going to send to. You understand? Where the form
Mm.
is to, the location where the form is going to. Maybe yesterday the school, maybe university, you are sending it to the university. And the what? The method that you are going to send using it is what? Is get or post.
Mm.
You understand?
Yeah.
Let's make it easier for you in a normal life scenario. You understand? For instance, this is a form. Someone give you a form to send to the school, right? And you
Mm.
are asking the person,
Yeah.
which school am I going to send to? Then the person tells you that, oh, send it to maybe Ankara University. You understand?
Mm.
And you say, okay, now you know where to send the form, Ankara University. And then you ask the person, by which method am I going to use? Am I going to take a car or am I going to just take a bicycle? You understand?
Mm.
So you say, oh,
Okay.
no, I just want you to be fast and secure. I don't want anyone to see why you are sending it. So just took a car because when you are in a car, nobody sees you in the car. You
Yeah.
understand? And you say, okay, use post method, which is secure. You say, I will use post to send it. You understand?
Mm.
And then someone say, no, don't
Yeah.
use post. Point is no, it, because it's just a name. Everybody knows my name. So even if you send it by get, even if anyone sees you, it doesn't matter. Just use it. Then you say, okay, I use get. You understand? So now you are going there
Yeah.
by a bicycle or you are going there by a car. So that is this, you have to understand this form, action, and method. All right. So that is, we've completed that. Okay, so now we are moving to what is the content inside the form. What do you want to collect from the person? You understand? All this is just a
Yeah.
container. So we are telling the person that all the information that you have, put it inside the container, which is the form, so that I'll wrap it
Mm,
and send it. So now the form is like your envelope, right?
mm,
And then
yeah.
what inside is now your paper or sheet of paper that you're going to write the message on or fill the form on.
Mm,
You understand? Okay, so now let's continue. Now we are going to write our details, our information. And the information we want to collect from the person. You understand? So now let's take it
mm,
like the information I want to take from you. You understand? So let's continue.
mm,
To take the person's information, we have something we call input field. I have to provide a place for the person to be able to type his name, right? That
mm,
is what we normally
yeah.
call input field. Input, the person will put something, input. Input field
Input.
is a field where you input something, right?
Mm,
You understand? So
yeah.
you can write input. So when you start typing input, it gives you a lot of options. Look at input button,
Mm,
input checkbox, input color, input date, input. What type of information do you want to collect from the person? Are you going to
mm,
take the input of email of the
email.
person, or you want the date, or you want the color, or you want the checkbox? So it gives you a lot of options. But if you don't know any option, you can just choose the first one, which is the normal one, like a test. The person should just
Mm,
type anything like a normal test using A, B, C, D. Like, you understand? So if you choose the first one, it will give you the normal one, which is the tests. So
yeah.
I always tell you that whenever you put an element, it normally counts with what? An attribute, right?
Attribute.
So now
Yeah.
this one has its own attribute, and that attribute is saying it's also helping the element input. And the
Mm,
value is what? Test. Understand? So if I want you to figure out something like this, can you tell me what do you think about this? I have input, I have test, a type, I have test. So what can you say about this? Let's start with the input.
input.
Yeah.
The
What
input element represents a type data field, usually with a form
come
control to
again?
allow the user to edit the data.
Come again. I mean, what is it? What do you think? Let's don't just describe it as like you are giving a definition. No. What I want you to know is that think about it in a normal way. Because if you look at it and you are reading from above, you understand
Uh,
what I'm trying to say. But
you
what
want
I'm
me
trying to say is
to
that, but what I'm trying to say is that just look at the name input and look at the type and look at the test and just tell me based on what you've learned so far or before. So when I say what is input, what do you say about input? Input is what?
input is just uh attribute?
Come again, come again. That is input. Look at input. I always tell you that. I don't want to say the name. That's why I just want you to
The root? You mean the root?
not about the roots. Okay, look at this. What is this HTML here? What is it? What is the name? What is it doing here? It's what?
HTML is the root.
I know it's the root, but I want you to tell me the name. I know it's the root. This is the root. You understand? Okay, if you were confused, what is the head? I think you didn't understand what I'm trying to say, or maybe you are mistaken. Just look at this input. You understand? Because I already told you that something comes with what an attribute. You understand?
Mm,
I told you there is something which comes out whenever you open, you have an, I don't want to say something, it comes with an attribute. and that attribute give functionality or add some effect to that thing. What is that thing? We just
Value?
forgotten. What is not value? Okay, let me just say it. It's an element. This input is an element.
Ah, yeah, 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 yeah.
This is what I want you to see. That's why I went back and see what is HTML. You are saying, I know it is a root. It means that you are reading here. Let's say it represents the root. But what is the name? Is it HTML element?
I forgot.
You understand? That is always what I want you to be thinking. If you think in that way, things becomes easier because you take this as an element. And what does
Mm,
the element do? You say, oh, the element represent a root.
root.
Correct. Then I told you that every element comes with an attribute,
Yeah,
right? Then if first of all, you first have to think that, oh, yeah, this one is the first element because without it, the attribute cannot be there. Because
yeah,
if
yeah.
I remove this input, what would this type do? Nothing. You understand? So therefore, I have to let the input count because with the input first is the first element. You understand? I have to introduce that. Then I give it the attribute, which has a volume, right? So always remember, or if you remember this way, things will be easier for you. Because whatever we do, we always start with an element.
Element.
You understand? So this is an element, this is an element, H1 element, whether strong, what do all element, body is an element, head element, because it also has what it closing tag. If it is image element, if it is a link, you understand? That is the
Yeah.
same thing. You always have to look back and think about what we learned before and just utilize the same thing. Input, right? So this signify the like give it a field for the person to be able to type his what? His information. You understand?
Yeah.
So I'm telling the brother that I want an input field, a field whereby the person can type something inside. You understand? Then you are telling me what type do you want the person to do inside the field like this? And then you are saying that I want the person to type something like a test. You understand? You want the person to type something like a test. So that is the attribute which is type tests. So you always have to understand that this simple thing is always what we normally repeat. For instance, here I say I want an input field where a person can type something or can put his data. Secondly, I want the type of that data the person will fill is text. Then I can come down and see I want another one, which is also a what? Input, so a field, right? But now
Mm,
the type that I want is not a text. I want the person to type something like email inside.
mm,
You understand how it goes? So you go
yeah.
down again and say, I want another input, but what I want inside is not a text. You understand? And maybe I want the person to type something like a password.
Yes.
Then I
So
come
it's
down again.
different.
So you
The
got,
type.
I say I don't want the person to type anything, but I want the person to type something different. Maybe let's say I want the person to type like checkbox. You
Mm,
understand? Now this now is not a typing, but it's just a clicking, tick. So when I click here, it's a tick. You understand? So this one is
mm,
what? Checkbox. You understand? Then we go down again. You say, no, I don't want checkbox. I want radio. This is also what? Radio. Right? I follow you. Then I
okay.
come down again. It's just a repetition. I don't want
Mm,
the person. What do I want? I want maybe a date. What did I get
mm.
here? Dates, right?
That's
So now
how they are forming.
I can select all my date that I want. Right?
Mm,
I can come down again and say, no, I don't want anything. I want maybe months, right? Do I have months here? Just click there and choose my month, right?
mm,
I can continue. There are a lot of them. So that's why I say this is just simple. Just understand the logic to be easier for you. I want color. The person now can choose the color he wants. Maybe you want blue, red, whichever color, you can choose this and choose this color. Right? So what again? There are a lot. That's why I have in my this thing. This is an input tab, a lot of them. This is button, color, date, email, file, hidden. Understand? So all of this will be upon you to learn. That you go and just try them. You understand? Because we cannot be doing all of them, one. We also do a little bit and then leave the rest for you to also go and and search on it, how it works, and test them
But
on your site.
it's the same method. It's just
You
you
just
keep changing
you keep
the name.
changing. Yeah, that's what you want. That's what I'm saying. What you want the person to type or to click or to check. You understand? So always what you are going to even learn is only this. You already know that, oh, this is the same thing. But what I'm going to learn is I want button. I want a checkbox. I want color. No, I want date. I want date, which is a local time. I want email. I want the file, the person to upload the file. I want image. You understand? I want it to be hidden. I don't want the person to see any field. He hide the field for me. I want password. I want number, month, radio. I want range. You know range, right? Range is like,
Yeah,
for instance, it's also like range is like this. You normally see it in when you are buying something in the online. This
yeah.
you see that now you can toggle here from
Mhm.
this is a range from 1 to 5, maybe something like that. You understand? So all these things are in this way. You understand? And when you look at this website, the same thing that the last time I would, oh, 1 minute. Last time I was showing you this from my website. Same thing, right? Okay, 1 minute. Okay, so slash courses. So the last time I told you, you can use this my website here, the form that I have here. You will see the
Mm,
same thing. You understand? These are just the tests you can see because if you see a name here, you know, oh, this is just a test. Which kind of test? This test, right?
yeah.
This is what email. The person used what? Email. This is
Mm,
mobile number. The person uses what? Telephone. Maybe like this, you can add this one. They say the person wants what? Tel, stand for telephone. So here you
mm,
type only numbers. Here, if you type anything other than numbers, it wouldn't. You have to type only numbers.
mm,
You understand? Based
yeah.
on this telephone, type this telephone numbers. Or maybe you just want only numbers. You can just like this and say I want numbers. Number. So only here you can just type number here. Look, I want to put here. Now I can go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You understand? Because of this number. You understand? So it's similar to here. The person can type in the country. The country is similar to this one. Maybe test because the person just going to type test country. And then this one is test area. The person is going to type test area. Maybe can do like this and say, I want tests. I don't know the test area normally. Okay, test area is just like normal test area. It's just like the normal elements.
Mm,
You understand? So look at this. So this, if you look at all this one is only the one which is different.
yeah.
Understand? Because you just want what? This. You understand? And this thing you can even drag it to look like a big box like this. Maybe I can bring this down like this. So you
Mm,
see, it is bigger than this one because this one just a simple input element, but this one is
mm,
just an element you can put things this side.
Mm.
You understand? So the same input also, this one also has let me give you this example. You understand what I'm trying to say. Let's say we have another input. And the input, now I can see what I want is I want let's say button.
Mm.
This is a button. You see it's very small, you cannot see. But I have to add what do I want to have inside this button. It has to be what? An attribute which is value. You understand? And value itself has to have something so that it will take this to the value of the box or the button. You can say submit. You understand? So now we have
Yeah.
input type button, which is the value submit. And the same thing, we can also do it in as an element, like this, the way we did this test area, which is the element. So you can just come down and say button. And then look at this. Now I can, inside it, I can write submit again. Look at this, they are all the same. Can you notice the difference? And
No.
let me put it here for you to understand. I'm talking about these two things. This and this, this
Okay.
and this. Look at this input type, I say button, right? And value, I say
Yeah.
submit. And this one, I want
Mm.
to just element as a button, submit. And so they are
Mm.
all have their own way. Mostly, I think they are the same, but it depends on where we are using it.
Mm.
You understand? Because some people just want to have a button so that you can just apply CSS on it. You understand? But if you put input, maybe you might have to apply this thing to the input, which when you apply that, it will affect these things too. Because when you apply CSS to input only, it will affect this one. So that's why some people prefer to use this one all input. But when it comes to the button, they just use this button instead of using the input, so that when they put or then when they use CSS to affect this input, it wouldn't affect this one.
Mm.
Yeah, they will have only this one, which is different. You understand?
Yeah.
So that is normally how it works. You understand? So normally we can now go around and let's say we are just going to create a proper form. Since you now know how to do it easily, right? So this is just an input that I showed you, right? So let's go.
Yeah.
Now we've learned how to add an input. This is input and it gave me test, right? So now if you look at this is an input, right? So now if I leave it like this, can you tell me what I can type inside? Do you know what I should type inside?
Name.
Okay, name and what?
Maybe your email.
Maybe your email. Right, that's correct. Because now I just wrote, there's no any instructions telling me that, oh, this is an input for, but what I should type inside, I don't know.
Mm.
You understand? So if you give this form to someone and say, this is my form, the person doesn't know what to put inside. You can just put anything there. You can put
Yeah.
numbers, can put email, can put his name. There should be something that can tell the person, I want you to put email here, or I want you to put a number here. I want you to put your name, right? So therefore,
Yeah.
we have to, before we write the input, we have to what? Put something to tell the person, this is what I want you to put. And what we normally say is called label, is label elements, right? Label an element, it's a label element. Label, we are labeling it, we are going to label this input so that the person will know what exactly he should type inside, right?
Mm.
So we type here, in between, if you want something to be here or seen in the content, we normally type it in between, right?
Yeah.
So what do you want? Here is what? Test, right? And what do you want?
Text.
The name of the person, right? So you
Mm.
can say we want you to type your name. So you can say your name, right?
Mm.
You can say your name. You see how it is now.
Okay.
Now this is a label telling you, oh, this is the input for where you have to type the name, your name. So I'll type it here. So now you are
Mm.
telling the persons to type his name here.
Name.
You understand? So
Yeah.
maybe if you want, we can follow the same thing here. You can say, oh, this same full name, right?
Mm.
Full name. So you can come here and instead of writing it as name, become full name like this. You understand? Maybe we can bring our this column here. Because this is a test, you can type anything that you want here. You understand? So then it depends on you whether you want to leave it like this or you want to separate them. Maybe you want this to come down or you want to leave it like that.
Mm.
It depends on you. You understand? And when we want to bring it down, what do you put in between them?
Break.
Break. So I can put break here. Then when I put break, it will come down. You see, it came down. So these and these are separated using the break, right?
Yeah.
So I've separated it. If I want another additional space, I can write the same thing, break, and then it has now two breaks, break twice. But one is enough, two is enough, right? So now we have full name. You understand? Okay. So look at this. This ID normally is used to target CSS. You want to style the field. You want to make it neat. You understand? Maybe if you want to make it look similar like the way I did. You want the background to change, you want insert to have something like the same thing like as I did here. You understand? So this where
You
you
use
have to
the space.
target and put the CSS to change the color, everything. You understand? But we are not doing CSS,
Mm.
just a HTML. So it's just a structure that we are building. You understand? So look at here.
Mm.
It says for label, we already know label, right? And then what about for? What does it do? When I ask you what is for, what is the name for?
Is there a value?
Come again.
Is an attribute.
Okay, so that's it. Because even the volume, I didn't write the volume. Why are you saying volume? Yeah, that's right. I didn't write even the volume. The volume is empty. So if you say volume, where is the volume now? This is an attribute. It has to have a volume, right? And if you read
Yeah.
at the top, what does it say? Say the ID of a label able form related element in the same document as the label element. What does it mean? It just means that, for instance, if I'm saying for, I want an ID, you understand? So normally you can say for ID. It's easier for you to remember that when you see put something like, you know that it is the label, it has an attribute which is for. So you can say for ID. So when you have this thing in your mind, when you see any label, maybe you say, oh, label is for ID. Let's see a shortcut like label is for ID. It means that when I see something like label, the attribute that is for what? ID. And which ID? ID is found in the input. You understand? So it means that whatever I'm going to write here as a value, I have to write the same thing inside this ID. You understand?
Mm.
Maybe here, if I write something like name, name, right? For is the value is name, right? When I come to the ID, I should write name. What does it mean? Or what is the function here? What it does is, let me delete this so that it don't confuse us. What it does is, for the value is name, ID value is name. I told you that for ID, you are targeting the ID. For is targeting the ID, which is inside the input. You understand? So now, normally when I'm going to type something, I click here inside, right, to type something,
Yeah.
right? But if I feel lazy and I don't want to put my mouse or click inside here, because I wrote the label, this label, and the ID, which is inside the input, to have the same value, name. When I click on this full, not inside, when I click on this full name, understand this, when I click this, because this is inside
Mm.
or this is attached to what? The label, right? So because I name
Yeah.
the for is name and the ID is name, when I click this place, it automatically give me a it wants me to type a text here.
Mm.
Let me give you an example. Let's say this one is even far away. You understand? So this is the full name and this is the input, right? So I can click here and
Yeah.
type anything here. Maybe I can type here and type maybe Musa as my name. But if I feel lazy, I don't want to type put the cursor inside. Like you see the cursor is like this. Look at it. You see it's blinking,
Mm.
right? So
Yeah.
just look at the same thing. So now if I click here, look at what happened. Did you see what happened?
The case.
Look
Yeah.
at when I click here, I didn't click
The
inside.
case
When I
is
put when I click inside here, this name,
mm.
you understand? It came here. It
Mm.
means that even if I don't click and type and start typing, I can click here and start typing.
Yeah.
You understand? So that is the importance
It's
of this for that
connected.
you see. That's why you have to make sure
Mm.
this name for and the ID they are equal. You cannot go and write this name and come here and change it to maybe Nime like this. If you do it this way, it wouldn't work. It's
Mm.
not working. It's not working. But when I click and make it name as the same as this for, when I click, it works. You understand? So that is the importance of the fork that you see there.
Mm.
Let me do this. So that's the importance of the fork that you see there. Let's see. Okay, what next? So now you already have your label here, full name, and you have your input type, which is text, and the name. Understand? So name here will come. I'll talk about the name later, but for now, let's just focus on. Just make sure that I'll talk about this name later. Let's just fill the form, put the input field for the form. Understand?
Okay.
So next, I can add break. Understand? And the things now it's easier because what I told you the last time, you just keep on changing what the type, right?
Mm.
I told you just keep on changing the type. But for
Yeah.
now, you want the first person to put his name and we just want test. So if you want email, what do? You can just copy this same thing, right? And
Mm.
paste it down here. Maybe and
Mm.
increase the break to go down a little bit. I understand. So in between here, we
Mm.
have two breaks. So here, what do you change? We can just change what? Here is what? Name. Do you want name? No, because we already have name here. So what do you want? Email. right? So in here, I have to tell the person to enter his email, right? Right? Email. And then within the input, what do I want? The type is what? Should be what? Email, right? And then the ID, I told you. So if I leave it like this, is it correct? For an ID, is it correct?
No,
The ID should
it
also
should be
be
the same.
email. So that for is email and ID is email. So that when I click here, it will show here, right?
Yeah,
Mhm. Right. So now it means that we have finished the name and the email. What next is maybe password. So we have to copy, we're gonna copy the same thing.
same thing.
Understand? Go down and paste it. Understand? Now it has to, we have to change things. For is what? Password. Because I want password, right?
Mm.
Password. So then here I say that tell the person I want you to as a label which is password. And then I come here and say what is the type of the input is password. Password, right? And then the email here, the ID should what?
Password.
Should be what?
Password.
Password. Right. Well, now this one too. We've completed this one too. You understand? So we finish all this and say, oh, now we've collected the name of the person, we've collected his email, we've collected his password. Maybe you want to collect his telephone number, right? So what do I
Mm.
have? Another example.
The
You
same
understand?
thing.
The same thing, but changing what? Here I can
Tel-
say phone. You understand? And here I can say phone, right? And then here I can say what? Tell, because the type is what?
mm,
Telephone. Tell.
tel-
Telephone. Or if you want it to be equal, I can just write it here like tell, for it to be the same, like to follow the same example that we
mm.
are doing. You understand? You can this place is still like you have to know it. You understand? But this place, you can just change it the way you want. Maybe it doesn't necessarily have to. This one is different. You understand? I always tell you, this one is the one you have to let it be the same. For and what? Tell the ID. For an ID. So before it can work. But for this one, the type are different. The type is password, type is email, type is tell. You understand? So we have to keep that in mind. Don't think that we are doing the same tell here and then you go and maybe you have an assignment and you try to make it same. No, you can change this to maybe let's say phone, and here because this one should be equal to this, you can just make it also a phone so that this one is equal.
The
Phone. But
tel can
but
remain.
yeah, because it's a type, not because
Mm.
the type should be your input. The input is a type that you are telling the person what you want the person to put. You understand? So this one is tell. You are telling the person you want the telephone number of the person. You understand? So
Yeah.
just always put that in your mind. So now we have these four. And what do you need from the person again? Maybe we want the email or the message of the person. And for the message, I told you you have to use an element called test area. Test
Yeah.
area. It is an element. Test area. It also has column. It has rows. You understand? So for now, we can just write test area. You understand? We can break this, come down twice. Test area. So you see the difference now in this instance. But we have to also have what? A label for it, right? Because if you leave
Mm.
it like that, it doesn't understand what we want from there. We can also add a label for it and change the name. This is for, we can just say test or we can just say message. And the ID is also message. And then inside you can see write message. Something like this. Write message, right? And
The
then
name?
the name, for the name, I told you we will come to it because I left all the names, remember?
Mm.
I told you should
Oh,
put
yeah.
that in your mind. Later I'll come for it, yeah. So the ID is what we look at. But here it's just an element, test area. It's not like an input for where you have a type, right? It's just an
Mm.
element. You understand? So we have to write something here. It gives you a place here to write something inside. So that's why it's called test area. It's an element. You understand? Right. So now we have all these things, right? So here we can decide to increase. Here you can just drag the way you want it, but there is a way you can also set it up,
Mm.
which is we're using the attribute to set it up. So if I come here and say I want to add something, what do I want to add? I want to add column. So when I was talking about table, you remember I talk about columns and rows, right?
Rose. Yeah.
So now you want, let's say, what the difference between columns and rows here in terms of here, what is the difference? For instance, in columns and rows, what is the difference?
Columns is just a vertical and
Okay,
horizontal. The row is horizontal.
yeah, columns are vertical, right? So now
Yeah.
in terms of this one, this is column, this is column, this is rows. You understand? So here we have an attribute which is called column. You understand? So here, do you want to add column? Do you think we should add column here or rows? What do you think? I don't want them to follow the same thing as continue downward. So I don't want this one to be bigger. I just want to leave it like this, but add
The same.
something that will increase the height.
Mm.
So what should I
Then
add? Should I use column or rows?
we should use column.
Are you sure?
You say you want it to be on
Yeah, I want it to be on the
the
same, to
same
be
line.
to be, to be vertical.
Mm. Yeah, then you should use column.
I think you have misunderstood between because the thing is, I know you are saying columns are vertical, but when I mention the vertical, it doesn't mean that maybe because I say this, maybe vertical, that's why you're saying column. No. Understand the thing, what that the thing does is very important. Not just the word, oh, this one is horizontal, vertical. Understand where you are now. Look at this situation. The thing is, the normal fold is this, right? So if you
Yeah.
take only this one is what? One row, right?
Yeah.
All these are considered as only one row.
Wow.
You
Yeah.
understand? So if you want to add another one, if you see column, it means we are going to add another column, which is what will increase it,
Ah, okay. Then
right?
it will be row. Yeah.
So now you understand how it works. So if
Yeah.
I go here and say I'm going to add column, look at if I add like 10 columns, look at a small, maybe let's say 100 columns. What happened?
Mm.
You see, so what I've added is now the column now is saying that this simple thing, add one to it, a column. So I'm adding this one here. Add another column, add this one. Now we are on the same row.
Mm.
Now you understand. But what I'm trying
Yeah.
to say, I want something to add which will not increase this what horizontal, but I want it to increase vertically. So in here, you change the way you think about rows and column because you know rows to be horizontal and what and column to be vertical, right? So now because
Yeah.
you understand, no, now I want something that can increase the space downward. It means I have to add rows because when I add the column, it will increase this more. You understand? So now if I say row and I say I want 10 rows, look at what happened.
Mm.
You understand? It means that it's small, you increase another row, two, so you have 10 rows. So if you are going to calculate, you can start calculating here as like maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you have 10 rows. You understand? The reason why this one is also good is that it's easier. You can just, even though you label it as what, 10, but if you are still here, you can still increase it, especially if you wrote something longer inside, you want to see all of the text, you can still increase it. But the default is 10. So when you refresh it, it will come to the 10 that you
10.
see here. You understand?
Mm.
So that's how it works. So now this one, what is row? What is the name given to row here? It's what?
Huh?
What is the name given to rows? Is what? What is the name of rows here?
Attribute.
It is an attribute. You understand? And the what? The value is 10,
10.
right? This ID, an attribute, right?
Yeah.
You understand? But when we come to CSS, I will also give you another one. The name is what we call it unique identifier. You understand? But for
Mm.
now, just understand it as an attribute. You understand? Here we also have the name, which I told you we come to it later. You understand? And look at what it says, the name of the control. You understand?
Yeah.
So now we finish all the things that we want the person to fill in. So now we have to get something that the person should send it to us. So now we don't have anything. If the person fill, what can he do? Nothing.
Submit.
So we have to get a button that the person click to submit. You understand? And that is where I told you for button, we also have two different elements that we can use. Either we can use the input where we give it the value, or we can just use the button as an element. So we can just say input, and inside the type we want button. You understand? But if you write button, you also have to give it a value so that it has something inside. You understand? So you can say value and give what? Submit. Let me
Mm.
give you a break here. Right? So you see now we have submit. We have input type button, and the value is submit, which is inside here. You understand? So the reason why this one is very good is that when you are using JavaScript, you can target this value. You
Mm.
understand? And change it as you wish. You understand? That's why we can. But the simplest way, maybe you don't want to use the input one, you can just delete this and use the element, which is button itself. Button. When you write button, inside when I can type anything, submit.
This one is more simpler.
Yeah, you understand. So you can also use this one to be easier for you. You understand? But the other one is also important because, for instance, if you want something like this, for instance, if I want an input like this, input button like this, and the value, I don't want to be submit, but I want the value to be, let's say, a number like 1.
Mm.
You understand? Now I can use JavaScript and I can target this value, and then I can be changing this one whenever I click on it. Maybe when I click on it, this will increase to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You understand? So that is why this one also is also very important. But we are not doing JavaScript, so it will be difficult for you to understand for now. So let's say we have this submit to submit. What about if I fill all this in and I feel that the information are not correct, or some of the information are not correct, or the message that I wrote here are not correct, let me delete them. You understand? Or I want to refresh all of them and start again. There is also what? Reset. You understand? There is also called reset. Oh, you can also call a button called reset. Button, you see, I want to reset button. Look, you see, we have a submit and we have reset. You can just click this. You understand? And what? Right reset. So this one, when you click, it will reset everything for you. But here we also have to think about the type. You remember, I told you, even though this is not an input, but it's the button. However, we have to add a type. So it will be submit. And even though it will not show here, it's only the one which is in between them will show. But it's important you add it. You understand? Because it tells the button that this is the type. So when you click reset, it will go through here. Because it's a type, the button will reset and it will affect all the form. That's why all these things are inside the form. So they are connected together. So when I type everything here, let's see my name, my email, password, my phone number, and then my message, and type reset, everything will be clear out. You understand? Why? Because they are connected together. If I go and take this and put it outside and not inside a form, I put it here, I fill everything, and click reset, nothing will happen.
No.
Nothing will happen because it's not inside the form. So for the thing to work, that thing has to be inside the form because it goes together.
Yeah.
You understand? So then I have to bring the reset inside. So that when I click, it will reset everything that I fill in. You understand? So that is what the form is all about. So now we've created a structure. So if we have done CSS, we could just change the structure, the layout, the color to also maybe look similar like this. You understand? And the button, we can change it to add beautiful design like this. You understand? So let's look at the another attribute tool we call placeholder. Look at the inside. There's a name inside, right?
Yeah.
A faded name. When I start typing, it goes out. It also, even though this label is very important, but the inside one also guide the person to know exactly what he should type in, how the thing should be inside. Right? So if I say full name and I tell the person I want it to be like this, here Anderson Bright. So the person will really know, oh, you should write it this way. So how can we achieve that? To achieve that, it is an attribute which is added to the input. Understand? So if now here under the full name, the inputs for I'm going to add another attribute called placeholder. 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 And the value is what will appear inside. You understand? So I'll say maybe the name that I want is type your name and say Anderson. Right. Right? Look at inside. So I'll tell the person should, the person understand this is how I like it. So the person will start typing. Maybe if his name is maybe Isa Alhaji, something like this. So the person understand, this is how I wanted it. So the person will follow the same way and he's also write because I say full name. So write is what? First name and last name. And so I can do the same in the email. When I come to the email side, I say, oh, put placeholder. Can say maybe example at gmail.com. So the person understand, I want the format to be like this. So the person will start typing his email, maybe at gmail.com. You understand? Password. For the password, mostly that it doesn't matter. You can leave it just like that because the person just know that it's his password. So you type his password. Because the password shouldn't be shown. You understand?
Yeah.
So that's why it's important. So here, if I look at here, we say password, right? But here, if we had made it test, when the person type anything here, it won't be a password. Maybe the person want to type his password and he start typing 1, 2, 3. You can
It will
see his
show.
password. It will show. So the person will, someone sitting next to you will see your password. You understand? So to protect your password, here we said password. So the person who knows that this is the password. So when I start typing, it will be hidden. You don't even know what I'm typing. You understand? Okay. So when you come to the phone, also the same thing. It has to be tell so that it will be in a number form. Then I can type 0233, something like this. Maybe 24, something like this, like telephone number. You understand? So in the telephone number, I can also put placeholder and tell the person or to show the person how I want the phone to be. I want him how I want him to write the telephone. I can put placeholder and this maybe I want you to type something like maybe the country code. You understand? For example, I give you an example. And then maybe something like that. I understand. Something like this. The person type in. You understand? Just to put a placeholder for the person to see the example to how he should fill the form. It makes things easier for the user. That's why sometimes if you are designing a website, you always have to think of the user, the person who's going to use the website. You can go into some website and even to fill a form become difficult because the way they design it, you find difficult to even fill it. You ask yourself, what should I put here? What should I put here? You understand? So all these are what we call UX. You are the UI, UX design, user interface, user experience. So the way the person feels while he enter his details, it is also very important because if someone comes onto your website and the way it feels easier for him to fill the form, he always feel reliable while using your website. But if you made your website, the user interface, the user experience very bad, the person always feel very. That's why you see a lot of people are making choices based on the kind of website or the kind of platform they need because some interfaces and user experience is very simple, easy. So always don't make things difficult for the user. Just make it simple. It is only where you see that there is a sensitive information that is where you make it a little bit difficult. You understand? To prevent maybe hackers to hack your website or some for security reasons. You understand? But where you see it is not needed or it's not all that important because for the emails, everyone has your emails.
Yeah.
And there are some special emails that people don't want you to see, but there are some emails which are known because if someone you had a conversation with a person, if it entails like a job contract or something, the person will require your email.
Yeah.
You understand? But some information like telephone, let's say there's some sensitive information that is very, very difficult for someone to share with you. But apart from that, email address known, the person's name is already known. Understand? So sometimes it's easier in that way. So always think about the user experience too. You understand? So in the message here, we can also add a placeholder, right? Placeholder and say write your message here. Maybe or type your message here. You understand? So now we are telling the person, oh, here it is a place that you can type your message, this place.
Mm.
So the person knows where he should type his message. Type it here. Okay. So now I think this form is complete, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is how we just create a simple form. Because nowadays we don't really take a lot of informations. Because even people feel lazy to even type their telephone number, but it's sensitive. If I give you my
Mm-hmm.
telephone number, I don't know what you are going to do with it. So sometimes creating a form, it needs like three basic things: the first name or the full name, the email, and the message of the person. It's enough, right?
Yeah.
Unless maybe you are creating a tutorial course or maybe something which is very important, especially an event. You understand? Because both the email and the phone is very important in terms of event. Because if the persons attend your event, you might need a phone to contact him, you understand, or email to send him a message, you understand,
Mm.
or the country where he comes from to just as a data for your future events. Yeah, so there are some cases where you need some important data to benefit you in terms of your events. But if it entails like normal advertisement, that one you don't need anything. The person's email and the name is enough. Because
Yeah.
if you are going to send an advertisement through, it's going to be through email. You
Yeah.
understand? Everyone bothers about calling them to start advertising. It's nowadays people even block you. You
Mm.
understand? So the easiest way to reach some people is just send them through email. If they open it, it's your luck. If they didn't, no, that is it upon them because everybody has his own choice to make. I hope you understand.
Yeah.
So that is a simple form that we created. So now if we click submit, so let's say, okay, let's come to this. For instance, now here is very important. The name is very important. You understand? But for now, let me handle the get and the post method for you. So now we talk
Mm.
about the get method. Let me fill the form. Let me open the form here. Where is the example? Okay, this is the example. Okay, let me fill my name. Maybe any name. Let's say Cocoon Brights, and say cocoon@mail.com and give it a password, right? And then I
Mm.
see the telephone number. Maybe I'll just 0233. Just write anything here inside. And then the message I'll say, I'm trying my best to reach you. Big T. Understand? That is, or maybe let's make it a little bit high. High, good one. Wait, let's high, good one. High. Yeah, yeah, this. I'm trying my best to reach you. Can you call back? Maybe. Bye. You understand? Simple like this. So what next? So now I'm going to click submit, right? Look at
Mm.
here. What are we going to use? We are using get method. The method we are using is get, right? So
Yeah.
I told you that get method is what will bring, well, look at this. The action attribute URL with what? It has what? A question mark as a
Mm.
separate, you understand? And the result will be inside your URI. Understand? So now change it to post. So let's fill it again. We refresh, we fill it again. We say we have our name, Mr. A1. And then the email, let's say example@gmail.com. So look at when I send it, what will happen?
Mm.
Look at top there. Do you see anything here?
No.
Aha. So it means that the information that I submitted will not be showing you because I use post method
Mm.
as example that I gave you previously. Now, because you use post method, you are inside a car. No one sees you.
Mm.
You are hidden. They are going to send the email or the letter, and no one is going to see you. So now
Mm.
this one follow it. It uses the body, what is inside the body, and it will send it to where it's the location that you give it to. So it is hidden. You understand?
Yeah.
But the reason why it brought this error is because we don't have the endpoint. I mean the location where he should send this. So that's why it's giving us.
Mm.
It doesn't know where should I send the information that you type in. We didn't create it.
Mm.
Although we give the location, which we said, oh, it is index.php or we can say index.html,
Mm.
but even if he sent it, we didn't collect that data to be able to display it. You understand? So it's assumed that the location is not found. So it gives you an error.
Mm.
You understand? So that is how this place works. The method and the action. uh
Mm.
So let me uncomment all this. Let me see. Let me uncomment all this. Comment all this and then understand. Right. So now this is what we have. This is what we have now. Right? So let me give you, I think I should tell you this shortcut too. When you are here like this and you want to refresh, normally when you want to refresh something, you click here, right?
Yeah.
You click here to refresh, but the shortcut is Control R refresh. You can just click Control R to refresh it for you.
Control R.
Yeah, whenever you are here, like here, when you just Control R,
Mm.
like this, it will refresh it for you. You don't need to come here and click it. Just write
Mm.
Control R to refresh it for you. You understand? So that is another shortcut that you can be using.
Okay.
You understand? And also, I normally use this tab. Let me show you how it works. Normally, when I do this like this, do you know what I do?
Mm-mm.
Like,
No.
so normally you have to type Alt with a tab. You know the tab? The tab which shows this thing, like this direction and this direction together. You do see it at the left side.
Mm.
That is the tab. That is what we call tab.
Yeah.
And when you click press on it, it's what it taps. It goes. I understand. So normally when
Yeah.
you're
Forward.
writing code, yeah, when you're writing code, you can use that thing. For instance, if you write something like, let's say you write A, and inside the A you come down, and maybe you had some problem that you came here, you can just press the tab, it will bring you there again. I understand. So you can move once or two or three, depending where you want to stand. Tap, tap, tap. Backspace, backspace. You understand? So what I normally use to do that this thing that I'm showing you is that you can press what? Alt, Alt plus the tab. So when you do that, it will show you that tab. Then you can continue pressing the tab, but leave your hand on the Alt. You understand? When you leave your hand on the Alt, but keep pressing the tab, it will be going forward, back to select whichever you want. So whichever you want to show, you can release your hand. For instance, if I want to show you this, maybe I want to show this, I will leave my hand there and it will show. I understand. If I want to go back again, I can first press Alt, Tab, continue. I want this. Continue. I want this. I want this. I understand. So this one is very good, especially a lot of people don't really know about it. So their level of productivity become very low. But if you know how to change these things, immediately you want to go somewhere, you can just navigate to it and just you don't have to go down here, be looking at it and selecting. Someone will go here before you select. If you do this way, it's very easy for you, right?
Yeah.
Were you able to do it?
Yeah, I'm able to do it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So this one is also another shortcut that you need to know. Okay. So now we finish the form. This is just a simple form that you need to do. So what I just want you to do is that you just navigate to this form. You understand? Or you can go to the website itself, which I'm using. I'm in the W3 school. You can also go there and then type the form at W3 school. You can go there and then look at the form, HTML, and then you go to the form itself. Where is the form? They have the form here. You understand? This is the topic itself, forms. You see, when you click on it, it opens the form and it starts explaining things, showing you how it works. The first name, this, you come to the elements, this is the form, and inside you put those elements. This is the input. Understand? These are the example of the input. Input type text, radio, checkbox, submit, button. Understand? And then the example, you can give one example. Label, input type, understand? And then there's a radio button, how you use the radio button here. There are a lot of them. Just mostly look at it and just click and try and look at how it works. Look at here, you can select one of them. Understand? Normally, this is radio, and we have checkbox. Checkbox, we can select all of them at once. But checkbox, we can select only once. Understand? So if you have a question or maybe a form which the person has to, like a multiple choice questions, you want the person to choose at least two or more answers, the person can use a checkbox like this. So the person can choose one and choose this one too. Now, if you just want the person to choose only one, the person can choose only one here. So that's the difference. You understand? So these are some of the examples that he has given. So now if I say, what is the correct HTML element for defining a form? Give me the answer. Form. I understand. Listen. Submit and you say correct. I understand. So then when you finish, you go to the attributes. As I told you, they also have some attributes. I give you the type. I give you some of the, let's continue looking at the attributes. Action. the attribute, you understand? So it defines the action to be performed when the form is submitted. You understand? It defines the action to be performed when the form, and they say usually the form data is sent to a file on the server, right? When the user click on the submit button. So in example below, and this you already know this, right? Blank. This you remember this one, right?
Yeah, blank.
Targets, yeah. Then method. We have get and we have post.
Post.
But the form data can be sent as URL variable. And that's why I was showing you. It's when you look at the inside the URL, you see the answers there or the input that I put there. But for the post, you wouldn't see it because it uses what the HTTP post transaction with method post. I understand. But normally the default one is what? Get. So even when I come here, I don't put anything. It will use the default one. If I'm here, like if I'm here, this I put in, I remove this. The default is still going to use this one. I understand. Even though I didn't put it there, but the default one, even though I didn't put it, but the default is like this. It will use the get one, unless you change it to post. You understand? So that is how it works. So you can read a lot of it here. So, and just read them. So look at here. What is the correct syntax for opening the form's result in a new browser tab? This last thing that you have to look at is opening the form result in a new browser tab. Remember, what's the answer?
But it should be get. But here there's no get.
Oh, you didn't understand what I'm trying to say. Look, I just read that. What is the correct syntax for opening the form's result in a new browser tab? Do you remember where we talk about browser tab?
Yeah.
What is that? When we talk about a link, you remember?
The first one.
On which attribute do you look at?
Target.
Target, you understand? So new browser tab. So when you click, it open a new browser tab for you. So this is what I'm talking about. Blank. Let's see if correct. You understand? So that is how it works. I'll go and just read them. Understand? Read all of them. These are other form of the action. These are autocomplete, encryption. If you want your data to be hidden or to be encrypted before you send it. Understand? You see the name that I was talking about. So now